Hello, everybody, and you are very welcome to the ICBA Business Summit 2021. My name is Patrick Hawhey, and I will be your MC for today's event. We have a fantastic lineup for you today, a lineup of keynote speakers, panel conversations, and short videos coming up over the next couple of hours. We'll be featuring stories and perspectives from the people at the very heart of the business, cultural, and diplomatic relationship between Ireland and Canada. So as you would have heard in his address, Minister Coveney spoke about the growing number of Canadian companies that are choosing Ireland as the base for their European operations, or indeed often their first base outside of North America. And that is the topic of our next discussion. Why Canadian multinationals are choosing Ireland, their experiences of doing business in Ireland once established, and the work being done by the IDA to make Canadian companies aware of the opportunities here, and much more. So I am delighted to welcome Ken Finegan, who is the Managing Director of Greenfield Global, Brian Conroy, Executive VP and Director of North America at IDA Ireland, and chairing the discussion is Joanne McIntaggart, Managing Director at IQEQ and Vice Chair of the ICBA. Enjoy.
Thank you very much, Patrick, and welcome everyone. Ken, let's start with you perhaps. So you've a distinguished career in life sciences, and as Patrick has mentioned, you're the MD for the new plant of Greenfield Global in Ireland. Prior to that, you were the account manager for Angus Chemical, covering the North European territory. And prior to that, you were 12 years with B&L Sciences. You're a graduate of Business Studies of Dundalk Institute of Technology. We're also joined by Brian. Brian's great to have you. You're the head of North America for the IDA, as Patrick has said. And the IDA obviously has a key responsibility in attracting foreign direct investment into Ireland for us. And we're delighted to have you here today. Brian, you've 30 years experience, obviously, in public and private sectors, and you've worked for many leading companies. Prior to your current role, and you've just landed in New York, we believe, so you can tell us a bit more about that. You were the global lead in the engineering and industrial sector, and you were previously a director of the IDA's business in Asia as well, and being based in Shanghai. You are a business graduate of UCD, my alma mater as well, and you also hold an MBA. So delighted to have you both join us here today. Ken, if I can start with you, perhaps, will you tell us a little about Greenfield Global's journey and why you came to the decision to set up in Ireland? I'm sure there was a lot of other countries you looked at the time. So maybe touch on the key drivers for us.
Sure, Joanne, and I suppose greetings first of all to everybody, and extend a warm virtual welcome to our new facility here in Portlaoise. I suppose, look, Greenfield Global, we're headquartered in Toronto, Canada, and we provide high-value, mission-critical raw materials, ingredients, and additives vital to businesses to improve people's lives and preserve the health of the planet. Greenfield is the largest ethanol producer in Canada, and we own and operate 4 distilleries there. We've just actually acquired a new distillery in Minnesota in the US as well. We have 5 specialty chemical manufacturing and packaging plants and 3 next generation biofuel and R&D plants in Canada and in the USA. So I suppose, look, we have a long history of shipping our bioprocess high purity solvents under our Farmco brand into Ireland. And it was a kind of a natural next progression for us, to, I suppose, develop that business. Our customers really wanted a more secure supply chain, especially in these uncertain times. Security supply chain is critical to our life science customers. So we looked at, the possibilities of setting up an EU headquarter facility and where we would locate that. Ireland, I think, was an obvious target because of we have 10 of the top 10 biotech companies in the world manufacturing in Ireland. CETA was a big driver, the fact that when CETA has been signed off on, obviously we're still waiting on government to ratify that agreement, but that allowed us to import our ethanol from our Canadian distilleries duty-free and share that with our European life science customers. So I guess that's what took us from I suppose picking Ireland as an ideal destination. It's obviously a English-speaking country, a gateway to our EU market, and even then proximity to ports and airports we can ship our bioprocess solutions all over the globe.
So supply chain is important. Brian, maybe you can touch on and elaborate some of the other reasons why companies choose Ireland over some of our closest neighbours.
Hi, thanks, Joanne, and good morning or good afternoon to everybody's on the seminar, and congratulations to the Ireland Canada Business Association for hosting this. So yeah, you've heard from Ken there on some of the reasons, and I guess first of all, when a company in Canada is at the point of scale that they've done really well on their home market, they've probably got some markets in the US as well. They've maybe got 1 or 2 customers in Europe, and are then maybe thinking of a more determined expansion of their facilities and are looking at a base in Europe. So that's very much at the point where we're trying to catch companies when they're making their first, let's say, outside of Canada and the US investment. And as Ken said, that's the first thing, is they've got to want to come and set up and to expand overseas. So once they do that, they're looking at usually there's a long list of countries that they've decided that they're interested in, and they want to narrow it down to 2 or 3 countries, and hopefully Ireland can get on that list. And usually we're normally seen as a pretty strong contender. So access into Europe is really, really important. To be in an EU country is really important for many people. Ireland is an English-speaking country, as Ken said. So cultural ties, business ties, all of that, really is a really good starting point for any company looking to expand, because there's a lot of new challenges for a company going overseas, and that cultural and business fit is really, really important. So once they've decided on that, then talent is probably the really big thing. Just going to a location that has a cohort of the talent that they're looking for. In Ken's case, I guess they're looking for particular manufacturing expertise that's there. Management experience is really, really important as well. And the reasons vary. Talent is different things to different companies, and really depending where you're coming from, Ireland, I think, has got a really good mix. We're seen as a talent hub of not just really sort of strong talent from Ireland, but also as a hub for talent right across Europe and the world, actually, at this point as well. So once they're comfortable that they can find the people that they need, then just the whole business environment is really, really important. So are they going to a country? It's a strategic decision for the long term. Are they going to a country where they can operate for not just for 3 years, 5 years, but for 10 years, 20 years? So, the whole thing about track record. Is this a country with consistent policies on economic development? Is there great government support, which we have in Ireland? And really just being, like-minded companies as well, peer companies that you can go and talk to about the challenges and really see how things are done as well. So I think for Ireland, we score well across all of those. We've been doing foreign direct investment for 70 years plus at this point. We've got a great group of companies in many key sectors, and that has put our name up in, as a strong contender. But, at the end of the day, each company has to make its own decision. So we have to work really hard to try and win that investment at the end. And, obviously in the case of Greenfield, delighted after they did a really extensive due diligence before they eventually selected Ireland and Portlaoise. We're just so delighted to, to finally win that business. And the thing for us is the trust to be a good partner for Greenfield over the long term. That's really what we aim to do now.
Yeah, thank you, Brian. Ken, Brian touched on there, you might have been to every 32 of the counties looking at the right site for you. So Portlaoise, why Portlaoise, and what was the driver there?
Yeah, well, I suppose, I have to say, first of all, when we put that initial call into Brian and his team, from an Irish person looking from the inside out, it was really impressive to see that well-oiled machine that is the IDA kick in, and they really did an excellent job in I suppose putting our leadership team at ease. And this is our first venture outside of North America, so it can be quite daunting going to a foreign country, setting up a new legal entity, and so the IDA team did just really an excellent job in putting our team at ease in that process. So once we landed in Ireland, the site selection team, as you said, it was quite an extensive operation, and we went to, there was actually 32 sites. Now, we didn't visit 32 counties, but there was almost one for every county in Ireland. And actually Portlaoise was one of the first sites, and that the bar was raised very high. at that point, it just ticked all the boxes for us in that it gave us, proximity to our customer base here in Ireland. The fact that we're on a good motorway network that, covers all four corners of the country. Laois County Council played an important role, I have to say, their pro-business approach. They share our values in sustainability, and, I was even involved with the Laois County Council leadership team in setting up Portlaoise as a centre of excellence of low carbon initiatives. So that was a great, opportunity to work closely with Laois County Council. And again, I think that we've identified already the high level of rich vein of labour pool that's in the area. Through Laois Chamber of Commerce, they've established that 13,000 employees leave Laois every day to commute to various surrounding counties. So we're really trying to tap into that and bring those people back, improve their life balance, and offer high quality work on their doorstep. So it really did. It's a vibrant business community. There's great support networks here from every part of business, and we've really enjoyed developing those relationships with our suppliers and to keep it as local as possible here.
Very good. Keep it local. That's key, isn't it? Especially at the moment. Brian, naturally, Ken and the team got an opportunity to visit those 32 sites. So it made it easier in making that decision. How are you replicating that in a global pandemic and being able to virtually show the green fields of Ireland and the opportunities that present to locate in any of our regions?
Yeah, a very good question, Joanne, and that has been a challenge for all organisations to manage that. Last March, we had to switch to digital, virtual only, overnight, and that's that was the part of the job to do. We didn't have the luxury of being able to drive in a car with Ken and with his colleagues around to the various sites and to show them firsthand at Ireland, and that that remains the best way to sell Ireland, is just really just to meet all the people. And so we basically recreated it digitally. So as an organization, we are very much set up to mirror the needs of our client companies. So we have a team here in Canada and also in the States, which offices and people who are dedicated to working on the corporate side. We have specialist teams then who work with the team back in Ireland, and with Ken, there would have been a team assigned to work with them on it with with specialist knowledge of the sector. And then we have regional teams in Ireland. So the Midlands team under Ken Whitelaw would have worked with Ken on the final selection for Portlaoise, but they would have visited many other regions as well. We also have a very big property arm. So we are, we're an extensive builder and owner of industrial estates in Ireland, and we pre-build those so that there are sites and locations available for projects such as Ken, or such as Greenfield. But we also do a lot of other things. It's a whole of government approach, everything from helping with visas to come into the country, setting up meetings with other peer companies, helping with the whole legal, accounting, finance, all of that end as well. So all of the soft sports you would expect. We do also have the facility to provide grants. That is a factor there as well. And it's it's not the biggest factor at all for companies. In fact, it's relatively speaking, they're not just going to come because they get grants from Ireland. The business imperatives are much more important. And then really it's just concentrating on the ongoing customer relationship, because the majority of our business still comes from existing clients. So every year we set out to see, can we do a good job with them? And the proof is, Greenfield, we've done, hopefully they've liked Ireland, and they're expanding their business in Portlaoise, and that's the way we like to do things. So we offer things like transformation support to companies in terms of training staff, R&D supports to try and get them to do more innovation. So some of those things will be on the agenda when we speak to Greenfield, over the next couple of years as well. We're always trying to, I guess, get all of our companies and sites up the curve in terms of what they're doing as well, and adding more to their investment in Ireland.
Thanks very much, Brian. And Ken, you to do the same. You had to launch the business and open the business in the middle of a pandemic as well. Maybe you can tell us about some developments since you launched, especially around the success of building the building itself, perhaps.
Sure. Look, John, yeah, look, it was very, very challenging. When you look back at, March 12th last year, when the pandemic suddenly happened, we went into lockdown. Do we continue the construction project? Do we stop? Do we, I suppose the products that we're planning to produce here in Portlaoise are deemed essential in that, we're going to be on the front line in the fight against COVID. So that was a real driver for, our team and our leadership team to continue with the construction project, to get our products to the front line as soon as possible, to help in the fight against COVID. So thankfully, with the help of our construction partners, DPS Engineering in Cork, we had to quickly adapt and implement those safety protocols. We had over 170 contractors working here on site at the time. So it was important, obviously, that we had a safe environment for everybody to work in, to allow that construction program to continue. And thankfully then, October last year, we completed the construction program to allow us to move into the validation of our new facility. I think as we thankfully, one of the new regulations in building control meant that our new facility is now NZEB compliant, and we're one of the first construction projects in the country to be NZEB, which is near zero energy buildings, which means
amazing, yeah, amazing achievement.
20% of the energy consumed on site is derived from renewable sources. So look, it was a challenge in itself to meet that criteria. And again, we had to quickly adapt and change the design of the facility to meet that. But look, it fits into our sustainability mission statement, and we're delighted to do so. We're very proud to have that, ribbon on our door. In fact, our building and the construction project has been shortlisted in the National Green Construction Awards, which is happening now in June 17. So fingers crossed for that one.
Okay, fingers crossed for that, Ken. Excellent. Brian, talking about opening new offices and opening new sites, obviously the Canadian office is a new launch for the IDA. Maybe you can tell us more about the decision making around that. And obviously you launched your new strategy at the start of this year. What's the key areas of focus for the IDA now as part of that strategy?
Yes, Joanne. So we did open our office in Toronto under the leadership of Deirdre Moran in 2019. So she's doing a really good job, and very pleased. But the decision making really was, I guess, probably since CETA has been signed, and that whole program, we've noticed a definite uptick in Canadian investment coming into Ireland over the last 3 or 4 years. I think Chris at the start had mentioned about the fact that that directly there's 50 Canadian companies that are IDA supported and that are there for for global supply chain reasons as well, and 6,500 employees. That has grown probably by about 40 to 50% in the last 3 or 4 years as well. So we've had strong growth from Canada, and we see it actually continuing. I think maybe one of the trends also is that Canadian companies looking to diversify away from the US market, looking more towards Europe as well, and they see Ireland as a kindred country that they can easily set up. And a number of trends in there, the sectors that are doing well for us, life sciences, as Ken has outlined there, but also the whole tech sector, very vibrant tech sector in Canada. A lot of emerging and startup companies as well that we've noticed, particularly in the digital space with companies like Shopify, really, really strong brands as well. Financial services, we have a number of really good financial services companies as well that are in. So it's quite broad-based, the Canadian investment, and we really see that continuing because the dynamics are there for Canadian companies to continue to expand overseas as well. We expect to continue to go from strength to strength in Canada. So the work that Deirdre does in particular, we're looking to expand Ireland's name, IDA's brand name within Canada. So apart from working directly with the companies, our existing clients, there's a lot of outreach from Deirdre out to potential new names of companies that are not familiar with Ireland. We talk to a lot of the legal firms, the venture capital companies, really just those who have an influence in terms of decision making as well. So there's the whole media messaging is important as well, that the good stories from Ireland are are portrayed in the market. So there's plenty of work for us to do there, and we really feel we're only we're getting going, and we're very optimistic.
Deirdre's doing a fantastic job. She's a great brand ambassador for Ireland out there, and we're all very lucky to have her there. She's flying it. Ken, you probably touched on one of the lessons that you had learned around the switch in the business requirements. Maybe if you tell us about what was a key highlight in setting up in Portlaoise and in making the decision to set up the business in Ireland as part of the global expansion.
Sure, Joanne, I probably have two highlights. I mean, I'd say one, the highlight for us and the team here was being involved in the COVID vaccine, and the fact that having our products qualified, it's in the early days of just coming into commercial production. So that's been a huge highlight, and everyone is really excited to be part of that and joining the front line, as I said before, in the fight against COVID. I suppose secondly, as you reflect and look back on the process of even virtually onboarding people here, hiring the highly skilled staff that we have, and I'd say that the Laois Jobs Fair that happened in the Midlands Hotel just before COVID in the end of February in 2020, where we had over 3,000 people come to our booths, and we could see we probably filled maybe 70% of the open positions on site in Portlaoise on that day. And so that was a huge highlight. We could see then and that we had that level of staff available on our doorstep, and we were going to quickly onboard them, albeit remotely because of the lockdown situation. But that was a great day. It was a very quiet dinner that night, but a great day to meet that level of skilled people on our doorstep, and we knew then we could onboard those as quickly as possible. So that certainly was a highlight for us.
Yeah, very good. Brian, back to you. With Brexit now and the UK making a play now that they've more control over their own destiny, and they would have been a strong competitor for us in the FDI space. If there was one piece of advice that you would give to firms, what would that be as to why Ireland and why now?
Joanne, yes, there's always competition, and FDI, every country, and not just every country, but states within countries are looking for their part of their piece of FDI. So, as a country in Ireland, we don't take it for granted our success in FDI at all. We're very much aware that the market is changing all the time, and we have to be hungry to change with it and motivated to continue to succeed, which I think we are very much so as a country. So advice, well, I guess I would like to say, come and talk to IDA, if I may say that as a piece of advice. But outside of that, I think probably two things I would say is the first thing is, and we have an example here with Ken, is that the importance of getting a really good first hire, your management, your MD in your overseas operation, that's just so crucial. Anywhere we've seen really good leadership, we're so happy to see that, because the chances of success are really, really high. The second thing then is just getting your whole business structure right. So companies are coming to Ireland not just for the Irish market, but for a European and in many cases a global market. So just how you structure yourself legally from a tax point of view and all of that, it's important to get it right, to think big, if you like, from the first day, so that you don't get tangled up in issues later on. And we have some really excellent partners in the accounting and legal firms who are very, very experienced at helping companies to do that, and just having that really good structure as well. So there are probably two things I think that important decisions after you've chosen Ireland, of course.
And after you've obviously asked IQ EQ to help you as well, Brian. I have to slide that one in there.
Yes, of course. Joanne, that's obvious. I should be mentioning that.
Yeah,
yes.
obvious, totally obvious. Yeah. Ken, if you were to do it all over again, is there any one thing that you would have done differently?
There's very little, Joanne. I suppose obviously maybe the NZEB, that change in the building regulations, being aware, but I mean that really was something that came and possibly caught the construction industry by surprise a little bit.
Yeah.
And even the regulators themselves weren't fully tuned in to be able to manage how the construction industry was going to comply with the new regulations. So that was something that kind of caught everybody by surprise. So I guess understanding building code, being aware of that, and especially if there's anything on the radar of any change to current building codes. But look, apart from that, I think no one could predict the pandemic to happen the way it happened, and to be, I guess you just need to be agile. You need a good team around you, which thankfully we have here in Portlaoise. And I see that as key. Surrounding yourself with good people, and the support. We're very, very lucky in Greenfield Global that it's this really is a global collaboration, and the support we have from our leadership team and right across. It's seen as a shining light. Our new EU HQ, and everyone is just so proud of it. And so that's been exciting that we can really now show off and our new facility and start sending our commercial product back out all over the globe. So looking forward to that.
Yeah, thanks very much, Ken. And I want to thank the team at Greenfield Global for sponsoring us today. It was really important. We really appreciate that support, Ken. So thank you very much for that. I want to thank you both for joining us for the panel discussion today, and for being so open and frank and sharing your experience. I want to wish Brian every success in his new role in New York, and hopefully he will continue the great work of the IDA out there in bringing foreign direct investment to Ireland on behalf of all of us. I want to thank Ken and the Greenfield Global team. We're delighted to have you here, and it's a testament of the great relationship that we have with Canada, and it's great that we can get the caliber of the company that you work for, Ken, in as members of the ICBA, but more importantly, contributing to the infrastructure in Laois. So thank you both.